Hello Normans, and welcome back to this week's Norman News at Home Edition. I'm Alana Morgan. I hope you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving break and an amazing Thanksgiving. Stay tuned for news on Christmas tree sales spiking and more on Roxbury Park's playground temporarily closing again. Around the school in 30 minutes, this is the Norman News. Many celebrate different holidays. However, if you celebrate Christmas, you may want to get your tree ahead of time. Why, you may ask? Because it has been reported that there has been a massive Christmas tree sales spike this year due to many people just wanting to end 2020 off on a fun and positive note. One location opened up on November 17th and sold more than 200 trees at both of their locations. Also, Christmas tree sales have doubled and tripled over the previous November sales. Also, make sure you are going ahead of time. Make sure you are checking the location to make sure that when you get there, you can find the best tree that they have available and you're not stuck with a little bitty tree that you may not want. Now we're going to send it to Jonah with some medical news.
Thanks, Alana. Recently, many doctors and patients alike have been struggling with seeing their patients and doctors during this time period since many doctor offices and medical institutions are closed. But even though doctors and patients cannot meet in person, they can still speak to each other and see each other over various applications. This method is known as telemedicine, and it has been used in the past when a doctor was sick or a patient was sick and they had to speak to their patient or doctor. Now, many doctors across the world are using telemedicine to see their patients, and it seems to be working well and might last for a while, but only time will tell. Now, let's send it to Jackson with this week's sports review.
Thanks, Jonah. This past weekend, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. fought in a boxing match that many were not expecting to happen. It was a great event with a very interesting undercard. Jake Paul, a YouTube star, fought a former NBA player, Nate Robinson, in a scheduled 6-round fight. Nate Robinson had speed, but his aggression got the best of him. It was very clear once the fight started that this was Robinson's first match. He was knocked down in the first round after rushing Paul, however he was able to beat the count. In the second round, however, Robinson was knocked out after Paul landed a clean punch. This was an interesting night for Nate Robinson as people began creating memes and mocking him. Robinson is an amazing athlete as well as a 3-time dunk contest champion, so it was definitely scary to see him hit the canvas face first. Jake Paul definitely showed that he was ready for the fight. However, many people including me would like to see him get in the ring with someone who has more experience. The main event between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., however, lasted all 8 rounds, ending in a draw. It was definitely great to see the two amazing boxers fight once again. Tyson had retired back in 2005, whereas Jones had already retired 2 years ago in 2018. Tyson mentioned he would be willing to fight again, which I know many would want to see. Thank you, and now to some more sports.
There has been a lot of news for LA recently. Montrezl Harrell, a former Clipper and Sixth Man of the Year, has signed with the Lakers. Also, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Rajon Rondo have all left the Lakers. Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol's brother, is now on the team as well, and will be a replacement for the centers who have left the team. Other new players have also joined the Lakers in the last few weeks. And regarding the Clippers, the team lost Montrezl Harrell, but got Serge Ibaka, and are hoping to be more successful in the next seasons with the new player. Let's see what our city can bring in the 2021 NBA season. And now to Rachael with some entertainment.
The Netflix series Emily in Paris has been renewed for a second season. The show follows Emily, played by Lily Collins, throughout her transition to living in Paris from the US. She struggles to prove herself to her boss and fellow colleagues at a French marketing firm. Emily is a typical young American woman from Chicago. A few weeks after the release of the first season, Netflix announced that they are on track to film the second season of the series. The news was announced via a quirky letter from Emily's boss, Sylvie, saying that Emily unfortunately must remain in Paris for a little while longer. According to the creators of the series, the show's so much about the culture undermining her expectations of how things are and how things seem, and everything will not be as it seems. However, it may take a while for the new season to be released due to difficult circumstances presented by the pandemic. The series is actually filmed in Paris, which means a delay to get things going.
As most local and state eviction bans have expired, over 23 million renters are currently being at risk of eviction and are struggling to find hope. In addition, studies have shown that evictions can further spread the coronavirus. Currently, there are large variations in how local and state courts are applying the eviction ban. Also, many owners and tenants are affected by a lack of knowledge regarding the ban. Many states still report overwhelming numbers of evictions because of tenants not being previously informed of their rights. These states include Virginia, Florida, Ohio, and South Carolina, all of which experienced big jumps in evictions during the past month of October. Many affected tenants have decided to drop their court hearings due to being afraid of gaining an eviction record that could potentially prevent people from renting future apartments. For tenants to be eligible for government protection against evictions, they must have a family annual income of less than $200,000 or an individual income of below $100,000. As of now, it is unclear if the government eviction protection will be extended, but a coronavirus aid package is expected to launch soon. The package would likely dedicate billions of dollars towards mortgage and rent assistance.
With COVID cases rising, every state has their own set of travel restrictions, from nothing at all to proof of a negative COVID test before your flight. Airports are doing their best to keep you and the people around you safe. To check your state's travel restrictions, you can go to CNN's website. If you are planning on traveling throughout the U.S. anytime soon, then here are some things that you should know. According to kayak.com, 19 states require or recommend you to quarantine. So if you are traveling to a state where quarantine is required or recommended, then you may want to reconsider your travels. Now, 22 states have no quarantine requirements per se, but the states themselves are not ready to reopen, and 10 states have no restrictions at all for out-of-state travelers. Now to Phoebe with local news.
Natalie, a Pennsylvania man was arraigned to pay more than $166,000 in reparations after pleading no contest to destroying a Beverly Hills synagogue on Thursday. According to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, Anton Nathaniel Redding was confined to 220 days in the county jail, arranged to conclude a 12-month residential treatment plan and complete 5 years of probation. During his time in custody, he was located in Kona, Hawaii, until he was transferred back to California. Redding performed this hateful crime on December 14, 2019 at Nassau Synagogue. This synagogue is catered mostly to Persian Jews. This hate crime occurred around 2 a.m., and the congregation of this temple went on to explain that they found papers and flyers thrown all across the lobby of the synagogue. Redding had overturned furniture and damaged several sacred relics. This cowardly attack hits at the heart of who we are as a community, then Mayor Jonah said in a statement. It is not just an attack on the Jewish community of Beverly Hills, it's an attack on all of us. The entire city stands in solidarity behind Nassau, its members and congregants. Now to Alana with school news.
Thanks, Phoebe. Roxbury Park's playground reopened a few weeks ago after being temporarily closed due to COVID-19. However, they did make an announcement on the city's Instagram saying that they will be temporarily closing the playground due to the COVID-19 cases surging. They will reopen the park once they see a lesser amount of COVID cases and once there has been progress made, which will be a determination on December 20th. The park will be closed and has been closed since November 30th, and it will reopen hopefully on December 20th. So make sure you're on the lookout if you want to head on over to the park, and make sure you are staying updated, staying safe in this pandemic, staying at home, quarantining, and following any other procedures that needs to be taken to help lessen this virus. Now to Jonah with some more news.
Thanks, Alana. This and next week will be our last 2 weeks of instruction for the semester. and some of your teachers are probably starting to prepare for finals, which will be on December 14th to December 17th. Although that week is going to be finals week, we will still have class on Monday the 14th, and we'll follow the early start schedule that week. But don't be expecting too much learning that day, since it will be the day right before finals begin. Classes will be 55 minutes long and follow the typical Wednesday schedule. Now let's send it to Natasha with this week's weather forecast.
Thanks, Jonah. Welcome to the weather forecast for the week of December 4th, 2020. This week in Los Angeles, we will see nice temperatures ranging from the low to mid-70s. Today we'll see a high of 73 to a low of 45. Likewise, on Saturday, we will see cool temperatures of up to 73 degrees to a low of 45. On Sunday, there will be a high of 72 degrees. Monday, we will see a high of 73 and a low of 46. Tuesday, we will be seeing a high of 72 and a low of 50 degrees. Finally, on Wednesday, temperatures will be in the low 70s. Thank you so much for watching this week's weather forecast. I'm Natasha Jadidolahi, and have a great week, Normans. Now to Grace with health news.
Thanks, Natasha. With COVID cases increasing, you may find yourself living in a household with someone who has the virus or has been exposed to it. This situation can feel very stressful and leave you feeling uneasy. If someone close to you or someone you live with has been exposed to the virus, here are some things that you can do to protect yourself. The first thing you should do is get tested. Just because someone you live with has COVID does not necessarily mean that you have it or will get it. Although it is extremely likely that you will get it, there is no harm in getting tested. If you have been tested negative, try to keep your distance from the person you've been exposed to. Living under the same roof might make this a little bit difficult, but it can be an effective way to protect yourself. Another highly recommended action is keeping your windows open to circulate the airflow in your house. You should consistently disinfect surfaces and objects to slow the spread of the virus. Lastly, you should wear a mask whenever possible. It is a lot to ask to wear a mask in your home, but research shows it is an extremely effective way to keep yourself safe. Now, let's send it back to the desk.
That's it for this week's Norman News. I'm Jonah, Danesh, and we will see you all next week.